Hello, let's talk about persuasion. Persuasion is convincing someone to do something or think the way that you think. Okay? Persuasion is huge in high school because so many of your essays will be persuasive in nature. The Virginia SOLs require that you write a persuasive essay if you take the writing SOL. If you're doing the project-based assessment, those essays are still largely persuasive. To understand persuasion, you have to understand how we appeal to people, how we persuade people. And this is right here that you see in front of you is the basics of persuasion. These are called the rhetorical appeals. Aristotle, way back in ancient Greece, decided these are what these things are. They actually work really well. You see ethos right here. Okay? Ethos is character. It's the Greek word for it. Think of it as your ethics. Okay? You're appealing to someone to do something because it is the right thing to do. Okay, and people who use this tend to be trustworthy. They're educated, reliable, credible. They're honest and fair. They're good people. They're appealing to you to do things because it is the right thing to do. It is the ethical thing to do. That's why you have a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. here. Okay, he was a great historical example of someone who was trustworthy, educated, reliable, credible, honest, and fair, and who led the civil rights movement because it was the right thing to do. Next up, we have pathos. Some say pathos. It's your emotion. It's the feels. That's why you have a picture of a cute puppy dog right here. Okay? Now, this is probably the easiest to reach for because we're talking about guilt trips. We're talking about doing things out of love, out of pity, out of a sense of justice, out of hope, out of anger, out of fear. And you see a great deal of the use of fear in news reporting and headlines. You see it in propaganda posters from World War II. You even see it in movie posters. They're basically emotional appeals to come see this movie. Now, this can get kind of heavy-handed because don't you get tired of being guilted into doing things? Right? So we're going to move over and look at logos, logic, reason. Okay? Logic is a chain of reasoning that makes logical sense. You know, if A happens, you do B, and if B happens, you have C. Right? If you're building a case on logos, you're using case studies, cause and effect, authority in the sense of someone who knows what they're talking about, someone with credentials. You wouldn't go to an English teacher and ask them to teach you math. They don't have any authority in the subject. Okay? You come to an English teacher to learn English because we have authority in that subject. Statistics, anecdotes, which are basically personal interviews about stories, okay, from first-hand or primary sources. You do this, you think this because it makes sense. It is logical. That is the breakdown of the three rhetorical appeals of Aristotle. Now, which one of these works the best? Well, Aristotle says character may be called the most effective means of persuasion, but the best argument is a balance of all three. We'll have ethos, pathos, and logos in it. Because, you get bored, you feel like you're being preached at if it's just constantly, hey, do this because it's the right thing. You get tired of the guilt trip. You get tired of doing things because you feel like you have to, because you love someone, or because, you're required to. It's emotionally exhausting. Logos, it's kind of cold. There's no emotion to it. It's, okay, you've got 6 apples, you've got another 6 apples, they logically make a dozen. Like, that's boring, right? But if you tie every one of these things together, you have a solid argument that stands up to any question. Because you're doing something not only because it's the right thing to do, because you feel that you should do it, and because it makes logical sense. What other angle are you going to come at to refute an argument if you have all three of those? Those are the basic rhetorical appeals at persuasion. You should be using these in some form in all of your essays. If you have any questions, let me know.